From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher, and our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered, soon-to-be millionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with us, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes and Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes and Training Podcast. I'm going to be your host for this episode. My name is Bill. For those of you playing at home, who else is hosting?
It's just me, Vicky, this time.
Vicky.
Just Vicky this time.
You're not just Vicky to me,
Okay.
though. Anyway,
Okay.
We have guests. Don't we have guests?
We have guests. So exciting.
We have a team that we met at the past PittRace event. They are the Nittany Lemons. Can't say it. Sorry, it's Rutgers in me. I can't say your name.
Ouch.
Sorry.
Well, thank you for having us. We'll be
Sorry. We're friendly rivals, though. We're friendly rivals. Anyway, we have the Nittany Lemons team. They are a Formula SAE team. God, I can't speak tonight. Anyway, good thing it's a podcast. I don't have to talk at all. Vicky's here. We have Eric Junker. He is in charge of electronics and powertrain. He was a driver. We have Becca Baker. She's in charge of all controls, brakes, safety, and ergonomics of the race vehicles. She is also a driver. And we have Jared Sable, past captain, former Grand Poobah, who is in mid-transition to the next generation of the SAE team. And now he views himself as a task doer member. Anyway, whatever. He was also a driver. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Like I said before.
No, should be fun. Anyway, so just in case people aren't familiar with you guys, you're students, but have you been involved with racing before? How's school going? What year are you guys in? Just some brief introduction in case people didn't meet you at the last race.
I guess I'll start.
Sure.
All of us go to Penn State, University Park, the main campus. I am studying electrical engineering. I'm currently a sophomore. And I guess right now, kind of heading into finals week. But in general, all of us do, as you said, the Formula SAE team. Do you want us to explain a little bit about that?
I'd like to know more about but okay, yeah, we will revisit it, but I would like to take a deep dive into the formula.
Okay.
We will.
Okay.
So do you want just a quick summary of everyone else?
Sure.
Or let everyone else, yeah.
Sure.
Since Jared's not on mute, we'll go with him next.
I like to sit here just kind of quietly, but I'm Jared Sable. I was a past race team captain. I joined the team in fall of 2016, so I've been at it for about 5 years now. I'm a super senior in material science and engineering, and kind of before, my family's always been kind of into cars, but I never worked on them or anything until I joined the team. There were 200 some people that really wanted to join and work on a car and, try to really pursue something cool into engineering. And I was one of the lucky few that got to stick with it and go to competition my freshman year. And I've been sticking with Formula SAE since. So that's just a little bit about how I got involved.
What kind of materials engineer do you specialize?
So the whole degree itself is called material science and engineering. I'm specifically into the composites aspect of it a little bit. I like there's a whole bunch of cool materials. Like Ferrari has this forged composite stuff that I'm very interested in. I just call it discontinuous carbon fibers, though. I've read a whole bunch of people's thesis and stuff on that, and it's just the thing that I really want to kind of pursue following graduation.
It'd be fun.
Can I just interject with something?
Sure,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Bill, you want me to tell him, Bill? Bill is a PhD, graduated from material science, and he is into ceramic engineering, which he has done a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. I'm a little familiar with discontinuous composite structure.
Jared, you better be careful what you say. You've got someone checking your work.
I'll be careful. I'm more of a I just kind of took a couple metals classes and then just bebopped all around. I'm not very familiar with ceramics or any of that, but
That's okay. We'll help you whenever we can. No worries.
Yeah.
Best for last, Miss Becca.
Thank you. So I'm also a sophomore, but ironically, my major has nothing to do with cars ever, unless you wanted to make a nuclear reactor powered car. I'm a nuclear engineering major, so that's what I do. I joined this team. I actually came into college as a mechanical engineering major, and then our school actually has a reactor on campus. A test reactor doesn't make electricity, and you don't turn green in front of it. So it's really cool. So I passed by that, loved it, and switched over, but I still stuck with race team. I joined the beginning of my freshman year. I really love cars. I've always been a fan. So I like American hot rods. That's like my kind of niche, I would say. I like just know them very well, but I haven't done like the practical learning part until about like right now, actually. Lemons was my first ever race going to and driving in. So that was really fun and getting like hands-on experience and stuff like that. So I've been very involved with the SAE team, and especially with machining parts. That's one of my favorite things to do on the team. But otherwise, I've been a helpful girl on the team as well. But now I'm a subsystem lead, so it's been really fun.
That's awesome.
Wow, this is quite an impressive team. Good start.
I guess I kind of cut my introduction, I guess, as far as the team goes, a little short.
Go ahead.
I originally got into SAE. In my high school, they have this like STEM day where they have some like colleges come in and present some things. I guess that you can do like clubs and different things. So one of the SAE teams, I think actually from Pitt and Penn State, came in to talk to us, and I saw that and I was like, all right, I'm sold. I'm building a race car when I get to college. So I showed up and fought through the mechanical, like the powertrain meeting that you go to. Like the first one of the year is always this total just crap show of, there's like 60 people that all cram into the workshop because like everyone's like, I want to be the guy that works on the engine. And I was like terrified, like I'm a freshman. There's all like grizzled looking like juniors, seniors who want to do this. And kind of similar to what Jared said, like I just stuck around with it. And I helped a lot with the powertrain lead at the time, learned a lot of machining. But then I remember just like overhearing conversation. Someone was like, hey, like, we're supposed to move into this electric car thing. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, have we done anything to like work towards that? And everyone just kind of like stared blankly. And they're like, oh yeah, but like we have to do it in a year. So I was like, okay, well, like I'll look into that because that sounds interesting. And then just looking into that became me changing my major from mechanical engineering to electrical engineering, and then being like the primary person working on that. So that's kind of been my my niche within the team.
Awesome.
All some form of mechanical engineering reject.
Yeah, that's okay. Most people change their major when they're in engineering anyway. So. Any goals and dreams, bucket list items left? I mean, you guys have a couple of years left in your racing careers. Let's start with Jared.
So I guess, coming past graduation, I'm just going to be working engineering jobs and building a little bit of stuff in my own time. I started in 2017, a project that is still dragging on very slowly. I bought a Fiero with a blown up motor, and I bought a crashed Impala SS, and I've been putting the front engine, front wheel drive V8 out of the Impala SS in the Fiero, mid-engine rear wheel drive. And that's been keeping me busy. I bought, I guess the team donated kind of for a donation back to the team, the 2017 car. So that's another project I have going on. And my main form of motorsport, I guess, that I'm going to keep pursuing is just autocross. It's so easy and accessible, and, it's
Quick.
just a really good way to learn.
Quick.
Yeah. Fun little 35 seconds. But I don't know. It's a good challenge, and it's very cheap and not easy on the car and accessible. That I think that's the best way to just like kind of keep getting better without breaking the bank. And then the next best thing for full track racing is Lemons. So, and I get to do all the silly things that I come up with in my head that I don't think would be even a slightly good idea anywhere else. Like, what else? We wanted to try a sucker system at some point, but that's that would be discouraged by any governing body of any racing series except
Active
Lemons.
Aero, hopefully.
Mhm.
So you were going to go with the okay. Is there a autocross course on campus? Like, can they use the stadium?
No, the closest we have is where we take the FSAE car from time to time is the Larson Transportation Institute. It's about 10 or 15 minutes down the way or something. It's
That's
so
not
we
bad.
have all the local buses and everything are CATA buses, and they have a whole testing facility for these buses where they have a big circle, and then they have a giant skid pad area for the buses to do a skid pad test on, actually. And as long as we go and we check with them, they let us use their facility and set up cones for the race car. But in terms of actual autocross for real cars, we just go to the Central PA regions events and mess around at Mid-State Airport and CPI, whatever the heck that stands for. But those are the two venues for here.
What about you, Becca?
In terms of racing aspirations, I honestly just want to get some more hands-on experience. I don't have a set like I'm gonna build this car by this day and age. Like, no, I really just want to get my hands on, learn as much as I can with any type of car. I've had an absolute blast working with these two gentlemen on the Lemons car, our beautiful Grand Marquis, and it's
was
been
that
really
you
fun.
guys?
Yeah.
We were the
two.
golf liveried one, not the one
yeah.
that had like the rooftop carrier on it.
The
Okay.
one who won the award, we're not them. We're the other
Okay.
ones.
Were you the ones that had the plaid on the side?
No,
Okay.
that might be a different car.
There
Okay.
was a few out there.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but no, that's my aspiration, to just get as much hands-on experience as I can and learn as many parts and how they function as possible.
So the mechanical side or the driver's side or both?
Both.
Okay. Why be an
It was
or
funny.
when you can be an and?
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, when we were doing the actual Lemons event, obviously you don't want your car to fail. You want your car to run the whole time and just have to refuel, check some fluid, add some coolant here and there. But like when stuff would come through, yes, I did not have as much knowledge as the other people on my team, because don't listen to them. They're actually very smart with cars. So they like hands in, ready to do it. But I was standing there with like a 10 mil wrench if they needed it, just watching what they were doing. So like I want to be able to put my hands in there and get in there and start working on some things. But I'm at the beginning of all of that. So just my aspirations is to learn.
Oh, sounds great. Eric, I know it comes as no surprise since we asked the other two and we haven't asked you yet. So what do you think?
Yeah. So I don't know. I've got a couple. I used to, when I kind of first got into Formula Student stuff, I was hell bent. I wanted to be like in. My goal was Formula One. Like I wanted to be a Formula One engineer. Like I was by any means possible. But I think that's a little more. I think that I want to take on a bit of a different environment. I think as far as like my end goal as far as racing, I think I realized during Lemons I'm not so much a driver as more I enjoyed like seeing the car out on track. Like I was like, yes, like it's doing well. Like I just love seeing it, running and doing well. So I think more as a race engineer, I'd love to work at like GM or something like that. That's I think where I'm going to be shooting for an internship next year. Or with Pratt & Miller, with like kind of the racing, Corvette racing. But some other, I did actually after Lemons develop a big, like very specifically like bucket list item. And that's, I want to try and win the Lemons fully electric, like $50,000 award.
The million nickel prize.
Yeah. The 5.5 tons of money.
That's right.
I would
absolutely say
absolutely
you've got the background for it. So
it's embarrassing how much I looked into how you would go about doing it at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. or something like that. Cause I'm like, I can't sleep. This is so important. Like I need to look this up right now.
If you could just get some of Becca's majors to be the electrical source, you would have this thing sewn up.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
What do we need? Fuel stops. What do you mean? We
Ah.
don't do no fuel stops.
You just put the rod in at the very beginning, and it goes for a few years.
Exactly.
Now,
All
say
you got
every
to
3
do.
years you might need to make a pit stop and have someone change out your control rods, and then you're good to go.
24 days of lemons.
But okay, if you go that way, I have one request. It has to have the Mr. Coffee machine in the back, and you have to throw a banana in it just like every couple hours, just to make everybody feel like part of the game.
So I do have a question about the cars. I'm trying to remember what car yours was. Now, I remember a car showing up with a very large wing on it. Was that you guys? Okay.
You keep trying.
I
That's
know.
not
I
it.
don't know who that was. I'm trying to
Okay.
remember what color was the car?
It was blue, like the Golf livery, kind of blue with the big orange stripe down the.
Okay. Okay. All right.
We were number
It-
91. I don't know if that helps at all.
Oh, yes, I
there
do
it goes.
remember
Gotta be
that
sure.
one. You guys did a nice play on a NASCAR. Very
Yeah,
good.
You're so bad at racing, sweetie. That has
I know.
nothing to do with NASCAR, but that's fine.
Well, no, I'm talking about the livery on it.
I'm talking about delivery too, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. So, and you guys were talking about the Formula car, which Becca had a picture of behind her. Can you explain that?
Anything specific about it, or
I know nothing about it, so you can just dive in.
So
Once
I mean,
you get
yeah,
past the
it's-
Gulf livery in NASCAR, she starts to get a little confused. So.
It's relatively it's kind of like a Formula One car if you just shrunk it down almost to like
Half.
it's smaller, kind of smaller than in between a Miata and a go-kart, I think is like
Mhm.
the about the size of it. And it's the rules are pretty extensive. I think, so the rule book that surrounds it is around like 200 pages now or something like that. So it's pretty detailed in
Because
what
you
you have.
Formula SAE people are cheaters, and they had to come up with more and more rules.
Yeah, actually, we do have a rule that was created, I believe, because of this. And Jared, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but one year we made our the like tube frame for the car out of titanium, which is awful to work with. But if you can get it to work, it's like way lighter
Mhm.
than either steel or aluminum even. So it's literally like we still have it sitting. Actually, if I turn off my camera, there's a picture of me sitting in it. But you can just pick it up like right there. I mean, it weighs 30 pounds maybe.
How did they feel about that?
They were
They made a
upset.
rule.
They made a rule, more for kind of similar to the way Formula One's going now, trying to keep the costs down, just because titanium's so expensive that not all schools can really get access to that.
We
Yeah,
have
we
one of the
kinda-
lightest cars of competition.
Did it let you race it?
Once.
Yeah, we kind of had we had a sponsorship from Tymet, which is, I guess, a local either titanium manufacturer or titanium like they melt it down or something, and they give us pretty much all the scrap metal we could ever want for free, and that's kind of unfair,
Mhm.
understandably. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
That's a couple
how the-
dollars.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how the supply chain worked back in. I think that was the 2012 frame that you saw, but we pretty much had just all kinds of titanium parts. If it's like, well, we want to save money, so make it out of titanium. So it was kind of funny.
Kind of the opposite reasoning, but
Yeah, it gets there. Titanium's a bear to work with, though.
yeah. But so I guess as far as I think the best summary of the car, most of the combustion cars are driven by usually some sort of sport bike motor. Usually people use anywhere between like a 2-cylinder to a I think some people even use like single cylinder engines.
There's a lot of single cylinders, very rarely
Yeah.
2 cylinders, and then a decent. Most are 4, I'd say.
Yeah.
Motorcycle stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
ours is out of a Yamaha R6 sport bike.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
710 cc displacement limit. So anything under that.
That sounds cool. All right,
Amen.
my trank dart's running out. Vicky's going to burst if we don't get the Formula SAE. So sorry, Vicky. What is Formula SAE? Is that where we're going?
Yes, exactly. What I mean does it run on the same track as very similar to like a regular Formula One?
So no, we compete entirely against other teams in 4 different events. So I'll give you the quick elevator pitch that I would give everyone interested in joining the team. We're a group of about 30 engineers that mostly engineers that compete against 120 different teams from throughout the world each year at Michigan International Speedway. So we pretty much get to the track, and there's an acceleration event, which is a 75 meter drag race. There's a skid pad event, which is just a figure 8 that you go through twice on either side, and you record your average time for either side. So it's pretty much entirely vehicle dynamics, like lateral G's that you can pull is directly related to the time. So it's pretty, benchmark the car, both of those 2 events. And then there's an autocross event, which is pretty similar to any regular autocross. It's just how fast can your car go through these cones? And then there's an endurance event that is supposed to simulate an entire season of autocross that is like 14 laps, and they're big laps too, like 2-minute laps or something. It's usually 20 some minutes that the cars are out on the racetrack. But the whole point of the competition is to build engineers, give them real hands-on experience, give them a very, very open challenge that, of course, rules come in because people come up with very good ideas that are very questionable in speed and safety and such that, it just kind of gives everyone some hands-on experience. And
it sounds like next level robotics.
Kind of.
Probably. I don't really know too much about that, but
we've had a lot of, I think we've had a lot of kids come to the team who they've either done like the 4-H robotics stuff in high school. Lots of the electronics people have come up with some good ideas, and yeah, there's been all kinds of, as I've seen. I'm only very recently become a part of it, but people have done like active aero, active suspension before. People have done all kinds of crazy stuff that is now banned in the rules, as far as what Jared said, with things that are not exactly easy to do as far as safety.
What could go wrong?
One thing I'd like to add too is, so both of them have mentioned that they've stuck around and they've been in it, and it's not necessarily based on skill. It's more so based on like how much you put into the team and how much like you're interested in it, really. Because when I came in freshman year, I knew jack squat about just general car ethics, I guess, and then also like how to machine. I didn't even know what a lathe was, and now I like can actually train every person on the team to use it. So like it's not necessary. What's nice about Formula SAE is it's not like, yes, by the time you graduate college, dependent on how much you put into it, you could definitely land a job with like GM, Ford, like very intense like car manufacturing engineering positions, which is great. It gives you that hands-on experience, but also the design and also just the idealing of creating a car. But it teaches you how to do it. It's not like you're expected to know like how to put together an entire braking system when you get to freshman year. Like, great, that's great if you do, but if you don't, that's fine. There is people there who will teach you. So that's been a really rewarding part of it too.
Do you guys get any credit for it? Is it part of your major? Is it like an elective or just part-time on the side? I see a lot of shaking heads. No, that's not really good for an audio podcast, guys. Got to work on this.
Sorry, yeah. We wish it would count it as credit, but all the late nights spent at the machine shop sadly don't really get you much. If anything, this club is infamous for making your grades worse. Funnily.
yeah,
For the time that you spend, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what made you guys decide to hop into Lemons? Just because they came to the school, or that you just thought it was interesting?
I don't know what Jared. I'd always wanted to do it. Just
at least once.
Yeah, no, I'd heard of it and I was like, that's so cool. It's like dirt cheap. It's all sort of just like, engineering that you can do in your garage. Like, this seems so awesome. And I was just, freshman year helping out in the machine shop and working with Jared. And we got to talking, and I think somehow got on the topic of the 24 Hours of Lemons, and he was like, yo, wait, like I've got a car that we're trying to build for the 24 Hours of Lemons. Like, you should totally join. And I was like, that sounds sick. So there it was, and we started working on it, and then I kind of co-opted, my girlfriend Becca into helping us as well.
Just got roped into this.
Yeah.
Willingly roped into it.
So I don't know if Jared, if you'd always had a dream for it.
It's pretty much, yeah, when I was in high school, I discovered that thing and I was looking at it and, oh, it's hilarious. These guys dressed up their car as a space shuttle. That's so cool. And until eventually, I was just getting more and more serious about doing it. And I'm like, after college. And then another friend on the Formula SAE team actually, he kind of lives close to me. And he's like, hey, my grandma has a Grand Marquis that won't pass inspection anymore. I know you were talking about building a Lemons car, $200 and it's yours. And I'm like,
sold.
How about you join the team? Because I know you also like building race cars, and then the car is free. And he said, yeah, sure. So
There it was.
that's pretty much how we ended up on the car. It was just the option that was presented to us. And we're like, well, I guess we're going to do this now that we have a car. So.
And how did it go for you at Lemons?
So it was I think
Becca's crying in the background.
from talking to the judges and other people around the paddock, it was a very true to Lemons first Lemons race. We
That means
had so loading it on the trailer, keep this one thing in mind, loading it on the trailer, we had the car had a battery like voltage dial on it. So we had seen that was dropping, but we figured, whatever.
It'll fix itself on the way over, right?
Yeah, we've been, stopping the car a lot. The alternator hasn't had a chance to run. Like it'll fix itself. But so we showed up for the test and tune with our hair on fire as we'd like basically just kind of buttoned up everything on the car. Jared was on his way out to grab the like high density foam, which I found out like no one uses. They just like duct tape their pool noodles to make it like, it could be any padding under there.
We use the real stuff.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Okay.
stop.
We do.
Go ahead.
So
I like to not burn.
Jared came back to our car being towed into the paddock because while I was testing it on track, because you didn't have to pass tech necessarily to get on track for that. The battery voltage had dipped low enough that the transmission wasn't really able to tell what to do because it wasn't able to communicate with the sensors in the engine. So you'd like gun it or try and get the car to move, and you'd hear the engine literally just go straight to the rev limiter and just nothing happened. And so I was able to kind of limp it back into the pits. And then it just stalled and died. And I was like, okay, all right, whatever, just tow us back. And that was when we found out our front tow hook we had naively attached to our radiator support. So by the time we get back to our paddock, the car is just dripping coolant, or sorry, not coolant, water. All over
no.
So okay, quick. Jared, there's a Grand Marquis or a Crown Vic or something.
It was
nearby.
a 1990 Crown Vic. It was 4:04 that I checked the clock, and the nearest junkyard was 30 minutes away, and all of them closed at 5 because it was Friday. So we're like, well, let's see if any of them, any of the one has a Crown Vic or a Grand Marquis or any kind of Panther body. And we called them, and they're like, we have a 1990 Crown Vic. I'm like, perfect, that'll do.
They're all the same.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all the same. My buddy and I show up, and that was the generation before Crown Vic, and it looks like, a 1970s Cadillac, like real long, nothing in common whatsoever with it. And we're like, well, I guess we'll, browse. Can we go browse all the cars? We'll see if we have something that has a similar size radiator. They're like, yeah, go for it. And we go and we walk through there, and eventually we find a 19 something or other Grand Marquis, and we're like, perfect. And grab the radiator and bring it back and everything, and then we give the rest of the story to Eric.
Yeah, so they get back with this radiator, and me, Becca, and Jared's brother, who was also racing with us, had already gotten the radiator off. We were already ready to go. We're like, all right, we've got the padding on. Everything's ready. If we can just get this on, just go send it over. We can pass tech. We're ready for tomorrow. We look at the radiator. It turns out the one that we had a trans cooler built in, and the one that we had just gotten from the junkyard didn't. So, okay, whatever. We'll just head. Advanced, closes at like 9 or whatever. So they peel out again, back to Advanced to buy the biggest trans cooler money can buy. And we have the new radiator plumbed up. And so we get back, trans cooler's all plumbed. Everything looks good. Start the car. Transmission fluid is just pouring out of the bottom of the car. Because it turns out they were all hard lines for the transmission, and they had since rusted through, and in kind of jiggling everything around to get it settled, we had broken those open. Okay, back out to Advance, get some soft tubing that fits it. We're cutting off just basically every hard tube we can find, get this whole thing put together. It's raining. It's like 11 o'clock. We finally finish this. Start the car. Everything's fine and dandy, except for, we still haven't fixed the alternator problem that initially caused all this. And we had another battery, thankfully, to test the car. At least we didn't have to ask for a jump. So we said, whatever, we'll call it for tonight. We'll get here early tomorrow, get teched, and then just head out as soon as we can. We did have some help the next day from someone else. They just kind of came over. They're like, hey, it looked like you're having some trouble. And, they said, well, we've got, a 30-year like GM tech, if you want to talk to him for just a minute. And he kind of got us down the right path. So in under an hour, managed to get the alternator working, and said, sweet, someone get suited up. We're getting the car out there. And sure enough, as soon as it got out on track, after replacing a whole bunch of stuff, it just worked. It was like a dream until the first day. That's done. We took it real easy. Just we weren't really trying to compete, especially after everything we'd kind of broken now. And we were at this point an hour past green flag, getting the car out on track. The transmission fluid, because it was an automatic transmission, I should add. Transmission fluid is completely smoked. It's like black. So okay, let's go buy as much like trans repair, maple syrup, whatever you can pour in here to make it just possibly shift better. So swap that out, call it a day.
I'd also say our tires were not faring well after day one. They were starting to, they were starting to lose tread. And I don't know where we read it, but it was there on some forum somewhere. Someone said, oh yeah, you can make it through Lemons with one set of tires and one set of tires only. Boy, were we wrong. Were we very wrong.
You can. Depends
not
on the
with
tire.
the tires we got. Yeah.
Yo.
Like, not with our tires. Our tires were fantastic day one, but day two, no.
Felt like a dream. You never knew.
Did you guys have race brakes?
Some good old semi-metallics from Advance, which actually weren't that bad. I was very surprised. We kind of expected it to be worse. We weren't pushing them too hard, like I said, because we didn't have the car out on track for like 7 hours straight. So they kind of had a chance to cool down. So that was never an issue, although if we keep it out on track longer, we do definitely expect that to be an issue.
We're going to put you in contact with Wendy from Porterfields.
Okay. So on to day two. The tires were an issue, but our transmission was becoming an issue, I think, even faster. So we're kind of, we're rushing around trying to find. Thankfully, there was a drift event happening like right across from our paddock. Mm-hmm. So we got one of our guys, running around trying to solve the tire crisis. He's just going to every guy like, hey, you got two tires you can spare. And I give him credit, managed to come back with 4 tires. And sure enough, there's also a guy with a tire mounting machine on the back of his truck.
Yep.
And so we managed to pretty quickly get, we had the old tires that were kind of like dry rotted, and we didn't exactly trust them out on track. But got the old or new tires mounted onto those, fit them on the car, wrote #AllSeasons on the back of the car. But at this point, the car comes in, and we had already been having issues with the transmission where we took it out, and we were kind of, grannying it through, like in the slower parts of the track, just put it in second and let it do its thing. And then as soon as you get to the straight, move it up to drive, and then hopefully it can shift relatively normally after that. But fourth gear had passed away, had left us, I'd say about an hour into day 2. And it was really, getting into third was not really a smooth landing. And then I think somewhere in around when Becca brought it in and was like, yeah, like if I'm going slow, the car just like,
Well, I'm the most conservative driver out of all of them, because since I am the newest to racing, I was definitely not as fast as them. They have more experience behind the wheel, and especially at that track too, because I live nowhere near close to Pittsburgh. That was my second time ever at PittRace, versus they live close-ish to Pittsburgh, so they've been to PittRace before. So they were like, hey, our tires are going, our brakes are a little hot, send you out and just be conservative with your usage. I was like, you got it, I'm in. So I take it out one lap, and how Eric just mentioned we did the grannying thing. I started out of the pit lane in second, and I thought I was in drive. So then when I get to the back kind of like windy section, I go to shift it down, and then it starts screaming. Our car is screaming, and I'm like, oh no, why is this? I put it in first. Instead of pushing it down to second, I push it down to first, and I'm doing the back and first. So I realized my mistake, go to put it to second. Then I'm like, let me just put it back. I'm going to go pit real quick, not even go into the paddocks, just go in the pit lane, stop, get back into drive, recenter, all good, right? Get to the pits, to like the hot pit area. Then I start slowing down, like passing all the people who are like professionals doing the hot pits. And
professionals.
Then, yeah, right. Professionals, as much as you'd like to call them.
It's a relative term here, not an absolute.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right. So I pass all the people doing hot pits. I go to like the top, and then as I'm slowing down, the car is violently shaking. Now I'm not talking like a little stepped over a bump. Like I am talking, my body is shaking back and forth. And last time I was in a car that did that, it died on the side of the highway. So I was very concerned at that point. I just brought it straight in, and I told them I was just worried. I was like, has this happened to you guys while you're out on track? I just want to make sure. I was like, I did this stupid thing, and I want to make sure like that stupid thing didn't ruin our transmission right away. And they're like, nah, you're good. Just send it out for another lap. Like, and then if it's bad, bring it back in. I was like, okay, like you got it. So I go and I take it out, make it all the way to the end of pit lane, talk to the guy who checks my wristband, make sure all like the Hans device and everything's set. I get to the bottom, starting to go into like the merging lane from the pit lane, and I stall. And I stall. Like that car was not moving. The transmission was like out and trying to find a gear and just wasn't.
Oh no.
So finally finagled it to get back into gear, move maybe 2 feet forward, stalls again. And I have not been in a stalled car before, ever. So I didn't really know what to do. So I was like, I'm just gonna hope this chips and we're gonna keep going. And I make it to the top of that thing and I stall again. So one of the guys in one of the ATVs was like pointing me off to a side road right after the pit. So thank God that road was there. Shot across the grass, went into that side road, and someone else in another ATV said, hey, like, do you, if you want, you can just go straight, like we can tow you back, like if you're having problems, like what seems to be the issue? I was like, the transmission's just acting weird, I keep stalling out. I was like, I'm gonna take it back to the paddocks. And they're like, great, go down to that orange tow truck and they'll tow you. And I said, no, don't tow me.
Tow a shame.
Yeah, exactly. One, I wanted to have some sort of dignity, and two,
you went to a lemons race?
Okay, fair point.
Okay. Just checking.
We had like PTSD from the first towing. We're
like
no.
exactly. Yes, I was one, I had like maybe 3% dignity after enrolling in the Lemons race, and I wanted to hold on to that as long as I could.
Okay.
Two, we had PTSD from our tow experience. I didn't want to go and have to find another radiator. So I said, no, I got it. I can make it back to the paddocks, no issue. So then they said, no problem, just drive up and around. You got it. So I drove up and around. I stalled on the hill again, but I said, we're making it. We're going. So I'm shifting. I'm doing what I can. I get it. Back to the paddocks. Top out of the car. Nope, this thing is gone. I can't do it. But they're like, nah, like, we'll have someone else take it out, make sure like it's okay. And I was like, okay, like if we can get it back out, I am all for it. I don't know if it's the fluid, I don't know like what's happening, if we just have a slush box down there, but like, or if I did something like, and if I did, totally fine. If it's the car, totally fine. We've made it a day and a half of racing, so it's better than no racing. So we eventually bring it back in. We take someone out in it, and it was the same guy who found us our tires. His name is Addison. He went out and drove it again. Definitely more experience of a driver. Couldn't even make it 3 laps. Getting it around those corners and just even shifting into anything was impossible. So when that happened, we brought the car in, kind of threw in the towel, and was like, it was 2 hours before the checkered flag, so it's pretty good. We had almost a full day of racing, and that transmission I believe it was Jared's brother that called it first. He said, if there's something that's going on this car, it's going to be the transmission first. And lo and behold, it was the transmission first. Tires made it, but made it. But in terms of transmission, we have no transmission.
I should also mention that we didn't put the tow hook back on the radiator support. We found a better mounting place for that. That was not the reason we were worried.
So many choices that are so much better.
I think it was.
Needless to say, we just put the tow hook right to the driver's neck. We figured that's the best place to put it.
I mean, the only thing worse is like putting the hook
it
through the radiator, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
We actually put it through our serpentine belt, so it got a little rough as it went. Just pulls everything out when we take the car away.
No, that's fine. So how many are on the team that went to the race, and how many are on the team in total, I guess?
We have, 4 people worked on the car mainly. It was me, Becca, Jared, and Addison. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear. There's like fire trucks outside.
We're used to it.
Yeah.
Lemons people live in the worst places.
I'd hope it's not your building, but
but we there's the 4 of us that worked on the Lemons car, and then we kind of like last minute showed up, and Jared's brother was like, hey, can I show up? Like there were the rules for like COVID and people signing up at the gate were like a little wishy-washy, but they were like, yeah, sure, just pay it was $240 or whatever to race. So he was our 5th member, and that was our full team of 5. That's all we've really ever had do majority work on the car.
Cool. And how many's on the SAE team in total, roughly?
It's about 30 people that end up going to competition. That it's probably like 60 that do something, and it's probably 25 or 26 that do like considerable amounts, and 30 end up going because that's the maximum that we can take.
Right.
But it's usually like 10 or 15 people build the entire car, and then 10 people help out like a whole bunch, and they're definitely worth it. And a couple people that just kind of like, we love this guy. We love this guy. He's gonna come with us.
So besides Jared planning on doing more autocross, how about the rest of you? Any more plans for attending any more races?
At least for me, more Lemons. I do a fair bit of karting.
Okay.
I worked over the summer at Steel City Indoor Karting, which is in like Monroeville, kind of near Pittsburgh. I've been to PittRace like once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to do the rental league this summer because my parents weren't too keen on me buying a go-kart, but other than that, I don't I'm more on the side of, I think, making cars is more my thing, rather than probably autocross in the future if I can get my hands on a Miata or something.
I'm doing my absolute best to talk him into buying a Miata. If you guys have any words of wisdom for him buying a Miata, just
we have 3, so I guess that would be.
What? And none of them are a Lemons car?
No, they're not Lemons cars.
No. Yeah.
There's a limit to what you can bring. Well, there's no limit, but there's a limit to what you should bring to a Lemons race. Those are
yeah. See, the thing about Lemons is that your car, the way I look at it, is that you have to be willing to walk away from your car because there's a lot of crazy drivers there and a lot of things happen to cars there. So you don't want to overinvest in a car at Lemons. Now when you level up, you want to have nicer cars because you don't have so many beginners that are up at the upper level races, and it's a little bit more competitive. You need a little bit more power, but Lemons, you just bring whatever you got, throw a cage in it.
We try to do Lemons the way Lemons should be done. So we race in a truck, or we race in
Right.
Yeah, we had the Loki
Capri
truck
or whatever.
I thought that was spectacular.
we take we have a lot of fun. Me and my sister doing the art stuff on all the cars, and we had that done in 3 days.
Wow,
it was awesome.
The car was orange before.
Yeah, it was orange.
That's seriously impressive. Considering, I'll be honest, when I drove by, I wondered if you guys had like worked out like a sponsorship deal to advertise for Marvel. Like I was seriously impressed. That thing looked tremendous.
Well, let me tell you, hashtag Tom Hiddleston hasn't done doodle for us. So anyway.
Yeah.
What about you, Becca? Are you going to be doing any stupidity like this again, or you one and done?
Honestly, I enjoyed it as much as it took away my dignity and my time on the weekends that I could be studying for exams or doing anything else under the sun. I definitely enjoyed doing it, and I happily would do it again. The only other little side project that I could even think of, so my dad and I actually built a go-kart, I think it's like a Yerk Dog is the brand. It's one of like the off-roading kind of go-kart things. Mm-hmm. That was really fun. So definitely, I don't know if we take it to events because so I'm actually from Delaware. I'm not even from Pennsylvania.
We're in Delaware.
So it depends. My dad lives in Middletown, but my mom lives at the beach. So like Bethany Beach area. So that's
Vicky and Jen are from Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, originally, yeah.
Oh, man.
So you guys are
We're
like
up by
next
the
door
mall
neighbors
area.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Delaware. Your
no
neighbors.
sales tax.
Yeah.
Delaware's about the size of a pinhead.
Yep.
Pretty much.
15 minutes from everything.
Thank you. Yeah, agreed. Okay. Thank goodness. In Pennsylvania, it's like 20 minutes to anywhere. Ugh. And that's like to the grocery store.
There's this thing that you're not familiar with when you live in Delaware. It's called a hill.
Yeah, they don't have
one,
them.
Okay, we have one.
We have one. There's one.
Iron Hill does not count as a hill.
It has hill in the name. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Someone's on my team, but no, definitely. There's not a lot of racetracks my way. There's one dirt track that we'll probably take it to just to have some fun with. But in terms of racing, if they continue to do Lemons events, I like this team in particular, the Nittany Lemons. I will happily join along with those, even though I live like 6 hours away from Pittsburgh. But I honestly, that's most of the stuff I have with my major and my internship this summer, like has absolutely nothing to do with cars or anything mechanical. So that's why this is more so just on the side what I like to do. And just because I'm starting to get into it, there's so much to explore. So my answer could change 2 weeks from now if I find a really cool event or I find a Miata for sale that's under like $3,000 and I can swindle my way into getting it. Like
you won't.
We'll see.
I can send you a link if you need one before this podcast is over.
Please do.
Challenge accepted.
Thanks. I have a Mazda 6, so I've been seeing what other people do.
You just need to shrink right now.
Right. Exactly. But if I've seen what other people have done to their cars, and I've never been like I want to fix this. If anything, my headliner is off right now because it was falling off. Like my cars, honestly, could put it in as a Lemons car and no one would blink twice. But
she did it with her Mazda 3. You saw it out there, the white one.
Yeah,
out there.
actually, wait, that's right. So in terms of my racing stuff, honestly, if I see something and I want to get into it, I'll get into it. But if I'm content with just keeping an eye out on lemons, potentially going to some dirt tracks and doing some donuts and making sure I don't hit people with my dirt who are watching for the sidelines. But that's kind of my seed.
That sounds like fun. We can definitely find you a car. That's not a problem.
I think we saw that Mazda 3 actually they just drove it to the gas station. Like I don't know if it was entirely street legal, but
It was up until about 3 weeks ago. It's got a full cage now. So
does it become non-street legal as soon as it?
you don't want to drive without a helmet with a cage.
Oh, right. That makes sense. Okay.
Bad days.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have any faculty advisors or faculty participants, or is it you guys are on your own?
For lemons or SAE?
For SAE.
Okay.
We're very independent. We're currently in between advisors, and advisors are more or less someone that usually just signs paperwork for us. We kind of make all of our mistakes ourselves and figure it out ourselves. And for better or worse, we're pretty independent.
Okay. Just for those of you, because basically I'm thinking, we're aiming at trying to get people into the sport, and maybe we can try to get people into Formula SAE. Maybe some of our listeners, either they don't know, or maybe their children may be going to college or whatever. So we're trying to get some of the SAE stuff covered. So is Formula SAE sponsored by the institution, or is it by the students themselves, or some combination? Or
it's mostly by the big name car companies and such. Like we get $5,000 from Cummins, 5 or 10 from GM, depending on the year. Ford gives us wind tunnel testing time. Volvo, the truck division, actually, we have a place close to us. They gave us a bunch of money. Becca's pointing to it in her screen. Siemens as well. They let us use all their software for free. So
nice.
Exalta give us tons of free paint every year. We didn't use it that past year, but we don't get very much money from the university, just space, the same as any other club would.
Okay.
We don't really do any of the fundraising. We don't have bake sales to go earn money or anything. We just get all the all sponsorship from big name companies that are looking to hire us after we graduate, ideally.
Awesome. That's
great.
And
it kind of does vary from school to school. So I mean, because of that situation is at least for us, but I know at some other schools there is some kind of university sponsored money that comes into it. Some teams, I don't know, it might be even on the sort of lower end of that, like people just sort of raising funds with that sort of bake sale. It really just depends from school to school.
Okay.
But and then you end up getting a ton of free stuff too, that people are like, oh yeah, if you just publicize us, and once you graduate, tell your employers about us, and all kind of stuff like that for smaller companies. A lot of people really help us out there too.
Cool.
And then 3M just gave us, we have a ton of this extra stuff, just take it. And we got 200 rolls of duct tape and stuff that you'll never finish in your life, and
more spray on adhesive than you could ever use in 10 lifetimes.
I don't know. Vicky and Jen use a lot.
Maybe we'll send you a box to for having us on.
It could take up half of our workshop. I'm not even kidding. There's so much.
We got a full pallet worth of stuff from 3M. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome. So let's look at team logistics. Who does what, and how do you decide? Because you mentioned earlier that everybody comes in wanting to work on the engine or wanting to drive, but you can only have one driver at a time, and there's only usually one, maybe 2 or 3 engines per car. So it math doesn't work so well there.
Jared, do you want to head that one, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll take it. Really, we have a structure to the team that we're currently kind of going through, where it's there's the captain that just kind of oversees and makes sure that things happen as they are, and then the whole car is split up into currently 7, I believe we came up with 7 different subsystems.
It's 6 or 7, yeah.
6 or 7. We have suspension, powertrain, aerodynamics, chassis, controls, brakes, and safety. We used to have a manufacturing one. That was a mess because then nobody felt responsible for making their own stuff. We got one more. I don't remember what it is.
Did you get admin?
Administration.
Yeah.
So people kind of stay out of their own ways, and it helps delegate tasks a little bit better to, split up the car like that. And then whenever, at the beginning of the year, you have 250 people in the first meeting, and they're like, what do we do? And, they usually don't know anything about cars. And we try to get everyone involved, as much people involved as possible. More hands make less work. But we do our best to kind of, you guys go try and join suspension. It's really cool. And we'll have our buddy Avi tell you all about how the suspension works. And you can, kind of be an apprentice under him.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to restructure it so that it's a lot more friendly for the 250 kids that come in the very first meeting. Because it's really like, 30 people show up for the first powertrain meeting and 30 show up for the next one. And then it's hard to delegate for one person to delegate tasks to 30 different people whenever they don't really know a whole lot. So we're trying to make it more of a chain that you go up where we're in the middle of it right now. We just had a 3-hour discussion about it, 4-hour discussion about it last Friday. But in terms of team structure, we just split the car up and have people that make it and have people that teach other people to make it in the future.
Yeah, and generally those sections are split up, ideally so that it's sort of taking all the different engineering majors and saying like, okay, well, this is ideally, if you're interested in this, then you can more easily apply what you're learning to this. And it's not always the case, but usually the mechanical engineering guys are working on the powertrain, or obviously the aerospace guys usually take on aero. Chassis is usually some mix of aero and mechanical, and electronics is usually electrical engineers. And it's usually that's kind of how the car ends up getting divided, is who is best able to understand the science behind this segment of the car.
Brakes and safety. The controls, brakes, and safety just focuses on how much radiation exposure you're getting. So that's why I'm the subsystem lead. No, I'm kidding. It's like you said, it's more based on interest. Yes, it helps to have someone like, especially our mechanical engineering like classes here. They do a lot with FEA, a lot of simulation work, which is really helpful in the mechanical aspects of things. But then, so you learn that in class, and then you can apply it here versus for someone who will never have to take a FEA course in their curriculum. I know it because I've had to do it. So you learn it regardless, but it's, like you said, it's really helpful to take what you've learned and apply it instead of learning and learning and learning. Then you get to your internship or your full-time position after you graduate, and then you have to apply it. You already have the application done. Like, you know how it works and how to fix it and manipulate it in a good way. So that's another thing too.
Do you usually have like a setup where you have like a senior, not senior grade, but senior more experience, and like a junior or a training type, so you can kind of keep the program moving forward through the years?
Yeah. So the leads end up being, people that have been there before and have some level of competency and confidence in their abilities. That you've seen the way that Andrew Latorek did the Aero 2 years ago, and that was cool. I was sitting there, I was watching him make a 2-element wing and everything, but I think it would be better to do a 3-element. So I'm gonna, he's graduating this year. I'm gonna step up, use what he taught me to make my design now. And then, you do the same thing. You make it in front of some other people, and you explain to the new freshmen or sophomores or whatever how you're doing it, and then they learn about it, and eventually they come up and take their job too. So
that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Additionally, so one thing that Jared said earlier that I'm going to touch on again is the manufacturing. So there used to be a manufacturing subsystem that made all of the parts for every subsystem, which was great, except for the fact that one, the manufacturing subsystem basically lived at the machine shop every day after classes. And then two, the other people didn't take responsibility for their own parts kind of thing. So it was the year, was it going into 2019 when you abolished the manufacturing subsystem?
It was going into 2020. Brock was the lead in 2019.
Right. Okay. So the people who led my subsystem that I lead now last year was actually two people. One was named Jason and one was Brock. So Brock was the manufacturing subsystem lead, and Jason actually created the controls, brakes, and safety subsystem lead. So I actually had two phenomenal people teach me both the controls, brakes, and safety side, but everything you need to know about machining. So that's another thing too, to where but everyone knows how to machine, or at least should. We encourage all of our members to get the safety training, to learn, to ask for parts to make, because that's how I learned. I showed up to the machine shop ready to roll at 2:30 p.m. every day, just saying, all right, what am I making today? What am I going to learn? So just continually going there. And then we would teach other people too. So that's another thing. I mean, due to COVID, we haven't been able to be in the learning factory, which is our machine shop. We haven't been able to make parts and stuff, but I've been telling my subsystem members, I'm like, get ready for when we can get back in person, because we're going to be living there, because I'm going to be teaching all of you how to machine, because it's one of the best parts. But that way they don't have to worry on the leads or the captain to be like, oh, like, can you make this part? Or like, I don't know how to make it. Like, before we start making parts, we teach people how to make parts, so that way we can have the design process go smoother.
Sounds awesome. I'm sure Vicky's sitting there saying, can I come over at 2:30? But we'll work on that.
We'll happily teach you how to first lathe and then all the way up to CNC, whatever you want. Happily do it.
She might be there. Might be there. So do you guys have any things you're planning on for the coming racing season, either racing wise or knowledge wise, that you're going to be, giving a try?
For FSAE next year?
Yeah, for non-SAE, but whatever.
Well, it's going to be our first year doing the electric car rather than the internal combustion car like we've been doing since '94. So that's already a massive change.
Yeah, that's going to be it's going to be a big. That's I guess been my. Oh gosh, I started that midway through my freshman year, getting into that, and that's, I think, kind of. It's going to be the team's big project moving forward, and it just presents so many different challenges because as what Becca was Jared was talking about before, is it's easy, the transfer of knowledge, like, oh, I saw what this guy did last year, let me build on that, let me do something similar to that, but I can analyze what he did wrong and do it better this time around. It's been hard, sort of, it feels like reinventing the wheel, where the powertrain is fundamentally different from a combustion engine. So now we have to completely redo the back end of the car to fit in basically this tray of batteries and fit a motor in and a whole crap ton more electronics, where the things are less like a motor and more just like a kind of a bunch of bricks. There's been just all kinds of different stuff as far as rather than having an engine, you have all these different circuits that you have to build to make sure the car doesn't explode. All right, not explode, but there's more sort of things that you have to do, like little things. It's a huge undertaking, I guess. A lot of the best way to put it is, we were talking to, when we first started into this project, we talked to Carnegie Mellon University, and because they've had an electric team for a while now, but they're a bunch of super smart dudes, and it took them, I think, 4 years of trying to build an electric car before they passed tech, before they even were allowed to race it. I think they said similar, it was either like Cornell or something like that. It took them, 2, 3, 4 years just to get the car right, to get all of these rules in order, so that it passed. And so it's going to be a big undertaking for us to try and do in the space of like a year or two. We've COVID has actually, in that regard, sort of saved us, because me and our other electronics lead have been hustling to do absolutely everything design wise and print PCBs and stuff as fast as possible, so that whenever it's actually come time to build the car, we're ready to go, kind of giving us a bit of a time buffer.
I have a suggestion.
What's up?
Best thing you can do when you need to get a car working, bring everything you got, go to the paddock at a Lemons race, and just make sure that a couple of people know it's not working.
You'll have like 18 people hovering around your car.
That's right. And before the race is done on Sunday, that car will be humming.
Yeah. So, sadly, it's less of a matter of the car working. It's like sort of like, oh, well, did you have like what's this one circuit, like the brake system plausibility device, like, oh, did you have a proper current set up to measure these, this specific circuit that needs to measure the current going to your motor, and were you able to properly test that? Did you have your test circuit set up correctly? Did you have this specific circuit board?
Right.
So hopefully someone has like a PCB printing machine there, so we can.
If you say you need it, Chris Egan or one of our other friends will bring it. It's amazing what shows up at a Lemons race.
Yeah.
So when you guys were racing at Lemons, because I know it's different than your SAE thing.
Just a bit.
Program. Yeah. What were some of the things that you learned going on a track? I'm sure this is probably the first time you guys have been on a track like this, correct?
For me and Becca, I believe, yes.
Yeah, definitely first time. But Jared's the seasoned one.
Just done a couple track night in Americas, so nothing competitive.
Okay. What was it like when you saw, I think we had 90 cars this time, right?
97 or 98.
Yeah. We've gone as far as like 140 cars.
Jeez.
So I wasn't sure. What was your thoughts on hopping on a track, Eric and Becca?
Becca might be the best for like the freshest perspective on it, because I've done at least sim racing and karting before. So I know that's not, there's going to be some people who are like, there's nothing like actually getting out on track, but
G-force.
it was, it was at least I'd done some iRacing endurance stuff. So it was at least the sort of being able to just like understand, like, having an awareness of what's around you was at least something that was good. But I would say, Becca, if you want to head that question up, you were truly like fresh into we kind of just threw you out there.
Yeah. Number one thought was, don't hit anyone, don't hit anyone, don't hit anyone. I did not want to get black flagged. I didn't want to do anything stupid, or at least too stupid. But I guess stupid enough in a Lemons race, but no,
The bar's pretty low there.
Yeah, that's why. But I still could manage to do something, like
if you apply yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it was, honestly, at first I was nervous because, one, like, I'm on a team with people who have definitely either had a lot of like racing knowledge, like understanding of like the racing lines, and also like how to stick to them, and kind of like the dynamics of a car, even like the weight transfer from like wheel to wheel, Jared. But understanding like how that stuff works, versus I was like, all right, I'm hopping in, we're going, like, let's do it. And so my first time on track, it was like midday or like early morning. First day, I was petrified. I'm gonna be completely honest. I was like, oh my god, there's cars driving around me, this Miata's tailgating me, and I don't know what to do. But it was okay. I just kept pushing it. I sadly but not sadly admit that I have a lead foot when I drive normally, so I was just thinking, all right, just think around the highway and just go for it. So then I started to get more comfortable with like the racing lines, the braking points, and stuff like that. But then we were switching out drivers to make sure that all 5 people could get time on track, which is totally fine. But I drove a second stint that day, later that afternoon, and I started to get more comfortable with it. Still was the slowest driver, but that's totally fine because I was starting to get more into it. So I was starting to feel more comfortable. I think that was the time I led the caution lap for a good amount of time. So
you're in first place.
I was so excited, and I could tell when I came back in the paddocks later, they were all petrified. They were like, we didn't know what was going to happen because you were leading the formation lap. I was like, I got it, it's fine. And as soon as that flag dropped, I had like 6 cars pass me, but it was all good because I held my own and didn't get hit. So I'll take it. It's a win in my book. But in terms of first time racing, it was just, even if I tried to mentally prepare for like 6 days ahead of time, nothing would have helped. It's honestly more so just jumping right into it and going for it, and making those mistakes and learning as you're doing it was the thing that helped me the most. And then the car stalled the next day, so didn't have to worry about making any more mistakes when your transmission dies. So it worked out great.
And I would say Becca was the best sort of Lemons driver on our team. We had, me, Jared, Addison. We're all like, come on, let me out there. I'll do some wheel-to-wheel racing. I want to set some hot laps. But
I truly helped out with the endurance part of the racing, just putting in some laps and staying there.
That's why you didn't have a transmission when you got in the last time, because these
Yeah.
guys.
yeah, we fouled it up. You're also Becca, who was worried about getting black flagged, was not black flagged. Jared and I were responsible for the 2 stickers that were put on our car after black flags.
It's story time.
Mine was I think Jared and I it was a relatively like similar story. Like the tires were going out, but we're like, all right, we still got to keep the car running. And I think it was when you come down sort of the pit straight, and then there's that like kind of kink to the left. I think I just overcooked it a little bit. Like I was a little too confident about what those tires were able or were kind of up to the task on, and just took it wide into the grass. And I just immediately like, okay, I know
on the right hand side.
Yeah.
Do you know how wide that track is there?
It is very wide.
Not wide enough, apparently.
Apparently not wide enough.
No.
So we have a choice. We have a track that's nearly infinitely wide that you ran out of room, or you had a driver who ran out of talent. I'm not sure which way we should go here. Okay. All right. Jared, what about you, sir?
Yeah.
You're black
Well,
flagging.
mine was a little more textbook, ran out of talent, but it is a good story. So we're, the very bottom corner or whatever, the pretty much U-turn heading back up there.
5
Back
and
up to that
6.
straight section.
5 and 6.
Yeah, I believe so.
It is.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep.
But before 5, I look behind me and I'm like, oh, it's a red Volvo. I know that guy. That's Randy Popst. I love that guy. I love Randy Popst. So I give Randy Popst a point by, and
like,
he had
like he needed it.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like the right thing to do.
Randy.
I felt like letting Randy go by,
Randy.
That's
Let
one
him
thing
have
you can
this
look
one.
back. Yeah, right.
I'll get him next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him confident
I
now.
follow
And
him
then I'll
down the
take him.
straight, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stick with him. My car's roughly as fast as that one in a straight line.
He's going to stick with Randy
I'm just like, I just want to follow him. I want to follow his lines. I want to learn
for
his
as
lines.
long as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it ends up being 2 lines of cars, and he's leading the left line, and everyone else is on the right line. So he has to take the outside line on this corner, and everyone else is taking the inside. And we're getting up to the corner, and I'm following him, and I'm like, okay, let's think about this real quick. I cannot outbrake Randy Popst. There is a 0% chance I can outbrake Randy Popst.
You nor your car. Yes.
It was the one thing you did right in your thought process.
Yes.
Here.
I cannot outcorner Randy Popst, both in a driver skill and the car. So
Okay, so we're at
what
2
we're gonna
right
do-
things.
we're gonna try and keep following him. He doesn't have the inside line. I don't have the inside line either, but I don't know how fast I can be going through this. So I'm gonna do exactly what Randy Popst does. I'm gonna brake 50 feet before, and I'm gonna go 5 mile an hour slower.
Okay, I'm just going to point out your first mistake.
There's several so far. So which
Yeah.
one are we going for?
Yeah.
Tires and brakes.
And
Yeah.
skill. Don't forget skill. There's a little bit. There's a tiny. I don't want to insult you, Jared. I just met
Go
you.
ahead, Jared. I'm
I
just
just
thinking
met
about
you.
your car makeup.
But Randy's done this a couple more times.
Too
It's
long.
okay. Let's
Listening.
listen to Jared.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So I'm heading in. I usually brake at the 1, and I'm 50 feet or probably 20 feet behind Randy Popst or something. And I don't see him braking yet. And I'm like, I usually brake at the 1, but I know I have a little bit more into it. And if he's not braking yet and he's that much further ahead, I think I'm okay. Little after the 1, I stand on the brakes. It's still before he even taps the brakes, but just by milliseconds.
Yeah.
Slows down for the corner. I slow down for the corner. And he starts going around it, and I start going around it. And the car is going around it toward the grass. And I get I think it was the front left goes off just a little bit, and I'm still kind of trying to keep it on there. And the rear left goes off a little bit. And I'm like, come on, this is already bad, but I think I know what's going to happen. And the right rear goes off, and then eventually the rest of the car comes off, and I'm sliding in the grass. And
I love this nanosecond play-by-play. Like this was exactly what his brain was thinking per nanosecond as he was sliding off. One thing I'd also like to mention is both of these happened the morning of day 2. Like day 1, we received 0 black flags. We were rolling. We did great. We were only an hour late. Everything was good. These two do an hour stint each as soon as we get on track day 2, and they both get a black flag in both stints, and it's fantastic.
So let's go a little more deeply into these. When you
No,
went
no
into
deeper into the corner, though, right?
no deeper into the corner.
Okay,
we're
thank God.
going to a different aspect of the debacle that you guys did to your team.
Into the corner.
So not only did you destroy all the brakes in the first 2 hours on the second day, so Becca couldn't get out there, and when you went into the black flag area, did you see a gentleman wearing a kilt or a gentleman not wearing a kilt? Kilt. Okay. The taller or the shorter?
It was the shorter. I remember they were saying he was like he was like a really experienced builder. He'd done like 5 years worth of Lemons races or something like that. I think he said
he's probably done more than that. But Craigers is a friend of ours. So what did Mr. Craigers have to say for your first? Who got the black flag first?
Jared.
Oh, Jared. So you were first black flag of the team for the weekend, right?
Yep.
Okay, so Craigers is usually fairly kind to first time, especially first time racers. And what was the general connotation of the discussion, and how did he broach the topics with you?
Well, I got the stereotypical. Do you know what you were doing wrong? You know what you did, or what happened? I think is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I have been going to this corner pretty much all day. And I was like, I bet you I can brake later into this corner. And I got an answer pretty quick that I couldn't.
Yeah.
Did you mention the logical path that led you to following Randy Popst into the corner?
Yeah.
No, that would have been a good way to excuse myself. Well, Randy Popst did it.
I was just following Randy.
Yeah,
what's the big deal?
Why isn't Randy getting a black flag if I'm getting one too?
That's right. He should be here. He made me do it. All right.
Randy, that's a great Randy made me do it.
Randy made me do it. Randy said I could do it, so I did. All right, Eric, you were black flag number 2 apparently, and usually the tone gets a little darker.
Yeah, they were a little more stern, I think, than they
kilt
were
or no
talking
kilt.
I think it was. Oh, I don't. Jared, did you also get? You said Craigers was his name.
Craigers, yeah.
Craigers. Did you also
remember?
Okay, but yeah, he came up and I forget how.
Same one.
The same
one.
ones?
Wow.
Yeah.
Both had Craigers. All right. Very well.
But he was pretty stern, and I think I knew going into it, like, okay, it's my fault, and I knew it was my fault. It was something I did wrong.
Well, it's not like the track moved or anything.
Well,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
And so
before, I swear.
The turn was over there.
Shift mid-brace.
I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I came in as quick as possible. I went off track, and I made my quick error was I was like, it was my bad. I wasn't paying attention to the car. The tires were a little bad. And he's like, oh, the tires. Well, we can take those off and let them watch the rest of the race. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I get it was my fault. I'm sorry. Trying to backpedal as fast as possible.
Retreat.
I was like, no, like I promise it was me. Like I'm sorry. Like,
this is also a bad path for retreat.
Yeah.
Very well.
But he was still. I think all of the judges were tremendous. They were super understanding, and we were trying to be as nice as possible with them.
We had some good judges at that one. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Eric and Jared, I know Becca tried to take the sword for you guys, but you guys, with all this track experience and black flag experience now, what did you learn? What did you learn? It could be driving related, it could be car related, it could be, maybe besides hooking up the toe strap to the radiator support. What else?
That is freaking hilarious. That is so lemons. That is so lemons.
Yeah. That happened, and I was like, this is like someone's gonna see us and be like, oh yeah, they're a first year team, or like this is their first race without a doubt.
Yeah. So what did you learn? What comes to mind? You go to a race, you always learn something.
I I definitely learned that winning. I think if anything, from listening to your recap of the race, and kind of listening to you guys talk about how you ran everything, I think I really learned that it's not like the quickest guys out on track that are winning it, because like we were doing like 2:19s or something like that. We're like, oh yeah, like we're like third fastest in class, which is
Yeah, you were faster than we were.
So yeah, and I didn't want to say it.
it.
I didn't.
It's okay.
But it's not about the quickest guy. It's definitely about how long can you keep your car out there. How consistently can you just keep that thing moving around the track in a way that isn't gonna destroy your transmission or destroy your tires all in day one. And those are the guys that win. Those are the guys that are gonna just keep, because you don't need to be necessarily like the fastest overall or whatever, or to win C class at least.
Nope.
You just got to be faster than the guy behind you. You don't have to be setting track records.
Mm-hmm.
Butts and seats.
Yep. Yeah. Butts and seats. Remember you guys said that.
Just keep lapping.
Yeah.
So you guys came in 75th.
Yes.
Not bad.
And you were, let me think here. I just pulled it up. You were 61st fastest car.
Nice.
I'll take that. That's
almost dead center.
Yeah. The judges were kind of crapping on our car. They kept calling it like that was the one thing they said in the black flags, was they were like, come on, like this is like a car meant for grandma to drive to church on Sunday. Like how are you guys putting this thing off track? Like what are you doing? But I was pleasantly surprised by how well that car performed. I was not at all expecting it to sort of take as much abuse as it did, barring the transmission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Jared, what about you? Did you learn something about the car? You driving, your team, anything?
Well, I don't know if I fully learned it, but I have a sticker now that says 4/10 is too many tenths. So I guess I kind of learned that part of it. But in terms of like, I've never done wheel to wheel racing before, and it was every bit as exciting as I thought it would be.
Sure.
So I don't know. I guess I learned that I want to do it again.
Cool.
There you
That's
go.
Awesome. That's the best answer we could have.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to put you three on the spot. You being SAE type people, 3 engineers. You've been to a race. You've engineered a car for an endurance race. Give me 3 things you need to change on your car.
We need a better livery. We did the golf livery, and we were going to put, golf clubs in the back and like a plexiglass with golf balls in it, wing on the rear. And we were going to have a putting green up at the top with a nice, we wanted to go full bore with the livery, and we just ran out of time. So next race that we'll be at, it'll be real dressed up.
All right.
More bribes, better livery.
Livery. Okay. What about you?
I was going to say, is it cheating if I pull up the list that I've just been like adding to every single time I hear something?
Nope, that's what I do. So
I think Jared gave our like super practical. I mean, there's we could tell all the sort of like little like, oh, we want to make sure that get the camber bolts fixed, we want to do this, but like other than the obvious, find a better transmission. I've been trying to think of some sort of crackpot, because the car used to have air suspension in the rear, and we ripped that out. But we still have the compressor from that. So I'm like, okay, well, what if, because we want to do like a rear wing for it, like a plywood rear wing sort of thing. And I was like, oh wait, but our big advantage with this car, it kind of sucks in the corners, but in the straights, this thing is as good as you can reasonably ask for. So why don't we get the best of both worlds? We'll make like a DRS system. So we'll repurpose this air compressor into powering whatever like cheapo $10 pneumatic driver I can find into making this sort of like homebrew DRS system for the rear wing. and it would be so cool to like show up to tech, like, hey, check this out, press a button on the dash, like
Okay.
back and forth.
You can tell he's an electrical engineer, but anyway. What about you, Becca? You got anything that's going to save this team?
So we can't put a reactor in the car.
You can. You just have to get through tech.
Yes,
You just have to
but
get through
then I
tech.
also have to go through the regulatory commission and have the
Listen,
NSA
it's
knock down my
experimental.
door.
It's
That's fair.
you know.
But no, so one of the things that I would say is, so I give all credit to Jared for this idea. So our sick Grand Marquis has side pipes that we welded on from the old exhaust. So honestly, just fine tuning that to make sure. I think one of the things potentially we could rip out the cats because we don't necessarily need those, but one of those things. But honestly, just making the side pipes like a little more pronounced, like, hey, check out our side pipes. Those are pretty cool. Because when we looked at the other Grand Marquis, they didn't have side pipes, so we had side pipes. So
So you want them to have side pipe envy? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, actually, that's it. I talked to that team, and another thing is camber. Definitely improving our camber on our car, because we had a little, when we brought the car in at the end of day one, the sides of the tires were bombed. Like they did not even have like a little hint of thread. No, they were just gone. They looked like wets that you would put on an F1 race. Like they were slick as anything. So this was that's something that we'd want to improve.
The inside or the outside?
The outsides were
yeah, completely gone. They were just out the window. They left before fourth gear did, which is surprising. But
it was a race.
I even went over to talk to the other Grand Marquis team, and they were great too. But they were prepared. Like it was their first race as well, which is really cool. But I went over and I talked to them after day one, and I was like, hey, like, we're the other Grand Marquis team, and sorry I made you guys spin out earlier. It's something I did, but it's fine. I spun out too, so it's fine. But
we skipped that detail before.
I'll get there in a second.
Okay, very well.
I didn't know if I heard that story.
No,
neither did I.
What?
That sounds like a black flag. I'm just saying.
Hey, but I didn't go off track, and neither did I.
Sounds like she would have been the first one to spin out the car then.
So I went and I talked to the Grand Marquis team.
Over 90 degrees is a black flag. Just to clarify.
Hey, I was at like a solid 60, so I'm good.
All
and
right, very well.
So it was perfect. But
You're safe, then.
So I talked to them after day one, and I was like, hey, like, did you guys have any issue with camber? Because we were our tires are a little rough. I kid you not, it was maybe like a half hour after the race ended. They had brand new tires on. They were ready to rock for day two. They came prepared, but they're like, no, like we had a shop. Just the guys at the shop I think they like tuned it or centered it to make sure that the suspension wasn't wacky. Versus we just said, all right, it runs, send it out there, that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, well, great. Well, good luck for tomorrow. So, and then the spin out story. So this was actually day one, and this was after the formation lap ended, and I was going. I had been holding off the other Grand Marquis team for like a solid 2 laps, and I was so proud of myself because although it's like you're just racing to just race, they were the only other team at the competition with our same car. Obviously, there was like a very tiny like, oh, we just got to beat the other Grand Marquis team. Like, that's it. They ended up at the end of the race receiving one of the awards, but we were mentioned in their speech because if I had a nickel for every time I had a Grand Marquis at a Lemons race, I'd have 2 nickels. And while it's not a lot, it's kind of weird it happened twice. So it's that was one thing. But we were going on the straight after, I forget the turn numbers. I think it's turn 13 up right before the back straight. But we were there, and they finally got past me because I took the inside line and they took the outside line, which was fine. But then I was trying to speed up and get back at him. I was like, no, I don't want you to pass me yet. Like, we're not finished here. But then we were on the back straight, and then there were like 3 other cars like right besides me. I was on the outside, one in the middle, one in the bottom, but I couldn't take the racing line, and the side of the track was coming very close. So I started braking a little bit, but then the car, I think the brakes either locked up, I did something stupid, like something happened. So then I started fishtailing like in the road, but then I just started recovering as they were next to me, and then they started speeding up a little bit. I recovered by the end of the pit straight, and then their brakes locked up in the turn. So not only did my brakes lock up, their brakes locked up in the same time. So I just passed them, pitted, and then that was the end of my driver stint day one. But yeah, so that's the story of the Battle of the Grand Marquis at Pit Maneuver.
So some Grand Marquis on Grand Marquis violence.
Yeah, exactly. Neither one was harmed in the process. All was good, and everyone kept racing. So no pain, no gain.
No pain, no black flag, guys.
Yeah, no black flag. I even messed up, but I didn't get a black flag, so I was proud.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, it sounds like you guys had a great time at your first race. It sounds like some of you have gotten the sickness. You'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
If we can ever help, let us know.
I found myself, I was like sitting in class and I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, like how can I make this car better? Like I was completely just like disregarding what was being taught. I was like, this is a problem now. Like I need to somehow figure out a way to like separate this, but I absolutely cannot wait to do it again.
Well, if you ever need a podcast that sometimes tells you what to do and sometimes tells you what not to do, we know a guy.
Us.
Have you heard anything about the T5 transmission?
Yeah, we do.
What do you think about us using that? Is that a good idea or a not so good idea?
Depends on how much you can get it for.
How's $180?
It's not a bad price.
Mm-hmm.
How about three? $180 a piece. So you could definitely talk them down to being 3 for $300.
Wow. You might have some fellow podcast listeners that will be calling you saying, hey, why don't you get
We're not going to say what state it's in because it's not Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, I've gone to Canada to get a windshield, so I can't say anything.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah, we were talking to a guy who was like, oh, yeah, you guys are probably going to be swapping out that transmission. And he was like, do not get a T5 transmission. Like we blew like 2 of those in one race. And so
we figure we'll just get 3 and they'll be a wear item.
We'll get 3. Yeah, it's a wear item.
Well, we can definitely put you in contact with some people who've raced the Grand Marquis or the Crown Vic, so we could help you there, and they would know by fact as we would know by speculation. So if we can help, that would be fun. I have just another option for you. Manual.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the T5 is a
okay.
Manual.
I didn't know if you were going to try to stay with the continued on the automatic, but the manual just makes things so much more fun.
We're not looking to become like a 2-pedal mafia.
Okay, very.
But yeah, the T5 seemed it seems cheap, and then there's I think the TR 3650 was the other one. All of those out of various generations of Mustangs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will tell you, don't get the one we have.
If you could tell us which one that is.
Yeah, okay. What's the one you have?
NV 2500, Vicky, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, not so good. But it served us well-ish this time, finally.
It's well enough, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully you guys will see you out at the track. Hopefully you'll come again. You're always welcome. If we're at a Lemons race, come on by. Even if you're not racing, we have plenty of food. We have plenty of drink. We have no talent, but we have lots of food and drink. So,
well, then we'll show up, and the total of talent will be up to still
neutral.
Yeah.
we don't want to float that talent boat too high. That'll make us have like expectations of performance, and we know that can't happen. So
we'll have all functioning of 3 brain cells.
That's right.
Ready to rock.
That's right. And if we time it right, Becca can get a ride from our Delaware contingent, and she just tags along.
Yes.
So that's easy. It was great having you guys on. Congratulations. I think you guys are, part of the reason why we enjoy Lemon so much. You guys got the right attitude. You had a great time. You don't care that you did not finish first, and barely care that you didn't finish. So you had a great time. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and thanks so much for having us. It was sadly Alan wasn't able to be on here, but it was tremendous talking to you guys, and it was during the event itself. It was tremendous talking to Alan. He was an absolute just encyclopedia of things to do, things not to do, and was more than willing to help us out and give us some advice whenever we asked. And sadly we genuinely meant to come up to your garage, but it just ended up having too much stuff to putter around with.
Things get busy on a race weekend. We understand.
They do.
I mean, we didn't even break, and we didn't get around to see everybody like we normally do. It was a little busy. But yeah. And the only thing I'll say is, if you're going to talk to Alan and he's going to give you advice, okay, when he starts going down the path for Arrow, just say we got that covered. just he gets a little carried away.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Alrighty.
Just a word to the wise.
Was this the air dam thing that he?
Air dam. Yeah.
I heard about the kitchen
Full
sink air
underbody
dam
into a
thing.
big diffuser, 12 degrees.
Yeah. And he likes putting the wing right in the middle of our car.
Mm.
That's
So,
the original way to do it, though.
yeah. Yep. Anyway, so he's not an aerodynamic engineer. But he likes to play one on TV. So, all right. Thank you guys for coming on. I hope you had a great time, and
We certainly did.
we hope to see you at the track again. And if we can help in any way, let us know.
Absolutely.
All
And
right.
same to you guys. What little help we can provide.
No problem. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you, you too.
Dominating with Dawson.
Hello. Is this
Hello.
thing on? Is this thing on?
Hello?
Is this thing on?
It's
Breaking up a little
Ben.
bit. Breaking up a little bit.
Ben.
It's not
It's
really. Hope
back.
not. Hope we're not.
All right. I'd like to have a large cheese pie. Extra cheese, please. Oh, wait. Sorry. Wrong call. Is this Ben Dawson? We're dominating with Dawson that I've heard about so much.
It is. Let's learn how to dominate.
Let's do that a little bit. So, recently we went to Mid-Ohio, and Miss Vicky said that her tires were talking to her. I don't know
That's
what
pretty
they were
cool. I heard
saying.
about that.
I don't know what they were saying.
They were finally. She's been trying to get some noise from her tires this entire time. She finally got to the skid pad. She's been trying to get that skid and her rear end going, and then all of a sudden, a trip to Mid-Ohio, and then we heard noise. Right?
We did. Not in the rain, but we did. And she's on mute.
Dry tire talk.
Dry.
Whoa. Tell us all how to do it.
Tell us
Oh.
about.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Liam had just walked in the door and is now emptying the trash can and all the kitchen. So we're just going to hear a lot of noise at the moment. Can we hold off?
I strung it out. I strung it out as far as I could.
I know. He just walked back in.
Vamp for me, Ben. Vamp. So, Vicky, you had some fun
Maybe.
at Mid-Ohio.
I did.
Time for tire talk.
What
Tire
did the
talk
tires
time.
tell you?
Yes. So, we've already discussed our trip to Mid-Ohio. Mid-Ohio was my first time there, and it was scary. But I do have an outcome, is that my tires were singing, which
Hey,
is a
hallelujah.
huge benefit from the skid pad. I had
they
way
say?
more confidence driving after I got used to the car, because it was a different kind of vehicle. It did have more sway than my Miata, so I didn't push it as much as I could have. But as I started getting more confident with the feel of the car and what its limits were, then I started pushing it on the last day, and I actually heard the tires sing, which is awesome.
What did they say?
Oh, yeah. They were giving me a shopping list of stuff. Yeah. It was good stuff, though. I'm like,
When,
"Ooh, what is that?"
When you heard him talking, were there times you're like, oh, it's saying too much? This tire
Not
is saying
too
way
much.
too much at this moment. So
'Cause
you had
if
good chirping tires.
I did. They were chirping. And I was pushing it a little bit so I can feel a little bit of the slide, but I
Mhm.
was definitely at the traction or pushing the traction limit, not going above it. I didn't feel really confident about going above it yet.
It's
So
a
was
fine
it like
line.
Was it like a continuous same pitch, or was it multiple pitches, or was it?
No,
kinda-
it was pretty much steady when I went in the turns.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
like,
yeah. I mean, I didn't really allow it to get away from me, so I could kind of rotate the back end, because I didn't know enough about the track or the car to do that. So I just kind of let the wheels just kind of do their thing. But it was a lot of fun. I was like, ooh, I was having a little aha moment there.
So Ben, when the tires talk to you, what can they be telling you?
well, yeah, like once you're going quick enough to make the tires make a little chirping sound, it tells you that she, like Vicky mentioned, she knows that she's closer to the limit of the available grip that the vehicle and the tires have together. So that's a good sign. If you go in and the tires make a constant noise, or like Bill alluded to, if the pitch is kind of constant but changing or something like that, it tells you there's probably too much going on. Like you could be going through the turn and sliding the tire, and you're maybe turning the wheel while you're sliding, so that may be changing the pitch. But whatever you're doing, if you're hearing that noise and the tires let go so much that it's just constantly squalling or kind of squealing, then it's not working. So you want a nice happy chirp, but we don't want a nice long sustained squall either, because that just tells you that whatever you're doing is you're not getting the traction you need. You're kind of making it worse and worse.
You're kind of like just eating rubber at that point, right?
Right. So nothing's really happening. If you start getting a sustained squall or something like that, kind of try to back out of whatever you're doing just to get the tires, not as upset, requieted, take another shot at it, whatever you wanted to try the next corner. But yeah, once you get to that point, in whatever sequence you're in, you pretty much just got to bail on it. Not bail off the track, but just, try to get out of the throttle, try to reduce your effort enough to get things back online and back under control.
So would different tires have different sounds?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you went out there with your 400 treadwear street tires, they might make a different pitch. Or if you went sliding the big old truck mud tire, it's going to get probably a lower pitch because there's bigger grooves to make bigger vibrations. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I think each tire's kind of got a happy noise, where
that's for sure.
More is not better, and
yeah.
too much is worse, and then
right.
But nothing's bad too. Just
right. That's true. That's true, because you'll see plenty of videos where you're looking at a driver and thinking, well, this person looks really squared away. They're putting the car where it needs to be all the time. The car placement is good. Seems rather effortless, but everything looks really good. But then you're also like, hey, is the sound on? And you realize I'm hearing engine, but I never hear a tire. So even if the person's doing all the mechanics and looking exactly right, if I'm not getting if I'm not hearing the fact that they're near the limit of the traction, then it's just sort of performative. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. It looks like you're doing something, but you're not.
Right. You're sort of play acting and putting the car where it needs to be, but it's not at the capacity it would need to be competitive with anybody else who can do it well.
I like the drivers who they've got the telemetry up on their screen, and you see they're doing 40 miles an hour, but they're doing the inputs like they're trying to catch it through the turn, and the fake catches. It's always fun.
But they're sort of, there's maybe, that might be something that works up to eventually then lead to do that. And maybe they'll already have the muscle memory built in. I don't know. That's kind of sort of aping that actually have to catch it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
It's weird.
So do slicks have the same tire talking because we usually run 200-ish treadwear tires or worse?
I'm trying to think. I used to run our comp tires sometimes for time trial, and just when I was learning how to get faster at DEs. My recollection is I don't think I heard as much stuff from them. At least the one I was on, the very specific one I ran the most was a Toyota RA1, and I think that was one of the kind of tires, pretty old compound. I don't think many people run it now, but I think it was one of the ones that was the kind of tire that didn't give you much feedback until it was too late, and you were already in big trouble. So I think they were more quiet. What is that? What you would have expected?
Yeah, I know it's narrower. I've never driven slicks on a track yet. So
this wasn't a true slick either. I used to race karts on full slicks, like Formula One looking slicks, but that was on dirt, so it was a whole different kind of deal. But once you run an R comp tire down far enough, it pretty much becomes a slick. And my experience was that it is a narrower kind of feedback loop, and so you're like, I'm out of here. I think I've raced on so many different 200 treadwear tires and just driven so many since then. I do feel like you get a lot more time to think about it and a lot more chance to change your attitude and your approach before you're really in trouble, if you're really paying attention.
So
does that sound right?
It does. So Vicky, speaking of paying attention, now that you are in the verbal conversation with your tires, are you now going to incorporate your tire noise to what you're feeling in the steering wheel and in your buttocks?
Absolutely.
And what would that entail? What would you be doing?
Well, the methods are still relatively new to me, but the Apex Pro really helps. It lets me kind of line up where I need to be and lets me know where I need to push a little bit more. And then with the steering and feeling it, I feel the back end of the tires as they're moving more in my seat.
Okay.
So
Not the
then
steering wheel.
the steering wheel, not so much as in the seat, because it's the rotation that is where I'm feeling it. But because I'm so new to it, the mechanics of it is more feel for me than explanation.
Okay.
I mean, Ben's explaining what's happening,
right?
But that's not muscle memory for me yet.
Okay. I think the last one that I had, Ben may have other questions. Were you hearing the front tires at the same pitch and volume as the rear tires, or you didn't pay attention?
I really didn't pay attention.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say that it was the rear.
Okay.
More than the front.
Okay. Ben, would you pay attention to the tone and the direction? Or
which corner of the car I'm hearing it from?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But like Vicky was alluding to, like a lot of this stuff is pretty mechanical for me. So, but I think I would drive along if I kept having the same handling issue, including weird tire noise or straining tire noise or something like that in the same place. I'm pretty sure I'd be like, oh, I'm sliding the crap out of the left front or whatever. Like, and a lot of times that is you're making the most noise with the most loaded tires. So if you're driving a right turn track, you're probably gonna be hearing the most crap out of the left front. In my experience, like if you're really sliding the rears enough to hear a bunch of crap out of the rear tires, things are probably getting pretty crazy. I'm just trying to kind of talk it through. I haven't really done a lot of conscious thinking or processing.
And the mechanics, are difficult. And I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
But you are called a bulldozer, so
I know, that's why I'm called bulldozer.
I do it more than anybody on the show. So don't worry about it.
It's an ADHD thing, so it's like I literally have a notepad next to me so I can write stuff down so I don't try to bulldoze.
I'm not even diagnosed. I'm just an asshole.
Well, I'm trying to stay out of the tub, so I'm not going to keep pushing this conversation. So Vicky, what would you say?
So the other thing I was doing at on my last day was trying to remember to keep my car balanced and steady.
In what way?
Yeah.
So when I was entering certain corners or turns, I was trying, or elevations either. I was trying to make sure that I had all my shifting done early. And all my braking done early. So as I go into it, I was prepared. And then to make sure that the balance of the car was appropriate for the turn. So I was making sure there wasn't too much on the front. There wasn't too much on the back. I was trying to go in steady and smooth at the same time. I wasn't gunning it. I wasn't slamming the gears. Oh, Ben's raising his hand.
I just want to be next. I just want to go after you finish.
Okay.
Sorry.
So that was kind of huge.
Gears.
Right. So that was kind of huge. I wasn't kind of, going all out. You at an HPDE, it's best not to go 100, 150%.
That's where you learn. That's where, exactly. That's a great attitude to have about a DE.
Right. You don't want to do that. You just want to focus on trying to get the muscle memory going. For me, that's how I'm looking at the HPDEs. So, but because that it had I had a particular uphill, downhill, off camber turn.
Madness.
Is that madness?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. When you started this, I so much wanted to interrupt you. You're like, I was trying to new track and all that stuff, and I didn't want to. You pause for a second. I wanted to go. Didn't want to get caught up in the madness.
That's right. It was the madness.
I was,
that was a little testy for me. So I really tried to make sure that my car had the right balance going into that, and that everything, and I hit it appropriately. It's a scary turn if you don't hit it right.
Yeah, so that's a place that really forces you to have to set up. You don't really, if you want to be quick through there, you've got to work ahead and set it up. But like in our region, we've got a place called CMP, and there's a big kink at CMP that most like Lemons cars could take flat out, but you gotta have everything set up. You kind of got to preload the nose. You know what I mean? You can't just go hauling through there flat out and not expect something terrible.
No,
so yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like, I remember early on in this, when we started doing these episodes, and you would talk about your driving, like, well, I keep it smooth through the corners by like letting off way early, and you're like, I get that float through there, it feels great, and we're all like, oh, you mean you kind of just drive through like low effort, and it feels like nothing's happening, and that's good, and you're like, yeah, I'm nailing it, right? We're like, well,
Yeah.
So it tells me well, no, I was just saying it's been a great evolution from that understanding. It's sort of like, hey, this is doing it, to, hey, really what I'm doing nowadays, I'm taking a more proactive approach to, get the rotation done. You're thinking about getting your shifting done and all those sort of things. So, you're sort of working toward at least the thing I'm always preaching, where I want to get a bunch of the work done before I get to the apex of the corner, so I can be hammering it through the apex on the way out. Because I'm always obsessed with trying to make passes on the way out of the corner if I can work it through traffic and that sort of thing. So it sounds like your understanding and your execution on track is making big evolutions. So I think if you're not, are you in DE2 already?
I'm in D2. I just I crossed over.
Yeah, that's excellent. So yeah, I think this is all great news. And you got the tires talk. I mean, this is fantastic driving progress and also understanding progress.
Yep. Oh, thank you.
I'm excited.
That I kind of got chills. I got thumbs up from Ben.
Yeah, it's great. This is exactly the kind of progress that you hope to hear about people making. And also you guys are having so much fun doing it. So I really just I get to enjoy all these successes vicariously. After winning races, making a tire scream, it's great.
So I was in my instructor's car. He has a Miata. I'm not sure if it was because it was the Miata or not. It was a
ND.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I did not get sick in that car.
Oh.
And okay. So listeners probably know by now that I have a tendency to get motion sickness if I'm a passenger. I did have those things, I think they're called Sea-Doos, which are little.
Yeah, my daughter wears them going back and forth to school, and it keeps her from getting sick. The pressure point, C-bands. Yeah.
C-bands. Yeah, I did try those, and I did not end up sick, but I was really amazed. Joey was my instructor at Great Lakes, is that he kept that car so balanced that I didn't, and he was driving excellent. I mean, beautifully.
Almost like an instructor should.
Right. But, I didn't feel the upsets. I didn't feel, it was just a really, really smooth way that he drove that track and fast.
Yeah.
So having that happen and experiencing that, I believe that is what I want to achieve, is something that is smooth, balanced, and still make that car work. And feeling that is just like, okay, that's it. That's what I need to do.
Next.
So
I'm jealous of the fast, smooth drivers. Like my teammate Hans is like that. I'm like, oh, how are you so smooth and also so fast?
Right. So that is a goal.
Yes, me too. I guess that's what I aspire to. Also, like these people who are really smooth are like the Eric Claptons of the world, and I'm like the sloppy kid playing in the garage.
Mr. Nugent.
You're like the Chris Fogley. No,
I don't
Chris
even know.
Fogley?
No, not Chris Fogley. This is a guy from SNL.
Oh, Chris Farley. Yeah, I'm definitely living in a van down by the river. No matter what else is happening, that's me.
He's a van down by the river kind of guy.
Do you have any more questions about Tire Talk and your experience from Mid-Ohio?
No, I don't think I do. Oh, one thing that I was really shocked about when I was at Mid-Ohio, when we were starting to practice offline passing, I was not aware about how much pebbling that a tire throws off.
I was gonna ask, especially in Mid-Ohio. I was like, I bet it is dirty offline, right?
That I had to bring my car in twice because I thought there was something wrong with my car. So I just want to say that I can't believe how much debris that cars throw off.
Yeah, that's true. And another good news about your own driving, probably Bill's too, from the previous session that maybe you jumped in after he'd been driving, but it tells me that one of y'all is getting the tires hot enough to pick up gummy stuff. So it means your tires are equally gummy. So you're getting your tires warm enough to be scooping that stuff up and making it stick. So that's also a good sign. If you've been if your tires were cold, you just roll right over it, it wouldn't stick. So it's a good sign that somebody's getting enough friction and heat going in those tires to pick up some of those marbles or clag or something like that. But all the people that are old school to VIR, will know that it's only been paved for a certain number of years, not that many, but it used to be just tiny pea gravel in the paddock at VIR. So you would get that stuff plus the rubber. That stuff would end up all over you. But also, it quickly taught you that, like, you hear stuff rattling and then falling off on the track, you just drove right through. You're like, I don't know what that is. It doesn't matter because everybody had gravel rolling off all the time. But yeah, that could happen. It can make you. I mean, it could be enough of that stuff on there that, like you said, you thought there was a problem with your suspension.
I really did. There was that much that were on the tires that I had to come in, and I jumped out, looked at the tires twice.
Well, now you know you won't do that in the middle of a race.
Yeah, well, yeah. It was an episode that we were doing, and I walked back up to my instructor. I said this on one of the last episodes that I walked up to my instructor. I'm like, I am so sorry I missed that. I said, I think there was something wrong with my car, but there's nothing wrong with my car. And I said, this is what was going on. He goes, you were feeling the pebbles of the track. And I'm like, that's never happened.
Well, you just got to go right back. I think Bill's trying to take you right back out anyway, isn't he?
That's right.
Just don't worry about it.
2 more weeks.
Pick it up next time. I know.
Yeah, just get it next time. You'll be out there. Oh, that's awesome. That's going to be a good time for you guys.
You know, it'd be even better if you stop calling them pebbles and start calling them marbles. But
is okay, the terminology.
Well, the Formula One commentators call it clag, so you could also call it clag.
Okay.
But it's not pebbles. It's not Bam Bam. It's not Dino. Nothing to do with the Flintstones.
They are not fruity. They're certainly not fruity.
No fruity. No cocoa.
All right.
So anyway, when it comes to tires and doing what I am now doing for newbies out there, definitely if you have an opportunity, go to a skid pad, because definitely, I mean, as soon as I had done that, and I've done it twice, it had made my experience on the track, it just 2.0 at that point.
What did it do for your confidence?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I have way more car control. And my whole issue normally is having faith in the tires.
Sometimes, yeah, it's huge.
It is.
That's one of the number one things you have to deal with to get faster.
Yeah. I mean, I have more problems having faith in my tires than I do in my brakes. I know it sounds weird, but when it comes to braking, I can downshift, I can slow the car by other means, but I don't know the limits of the tires, and I don't know how far I can push that car. Skid pad will let you do that and let you experience it. Highly recommend. My game on the track had jumped as soon as I had done that.
It's awesome. Everybody should do that. I've never done it. I should do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
I'm shaking. It's so exciting.
You know what else was fun? Well, watching her go around Mid-Ohio in the rain. That made the skid
you had
pad
to
look
bring
sticky.
it up.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a scary track wet. Really is.
A little bit.
I would love it.
All right. Tire talk is over.
Tire talk. I'm tired of tire talk.
That's right.
Get it?
Thank you, Ben.
Hey, way to go. Congratulations.
Good to go?
We talked to Alan a bunch at the pit race.
If you ever want to avoid talking to Alan, come to our pit. He's never there.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, we Alan
call him the mayor.
Yeah, Alan is a butterfly. Yeah. So just trying to, we actually thought about putting, our shirts would say, like, where's Alan? And his shirt will say, I'm Alan, and dial this number.
It's going to be my cell phone so I can find the damn guy.
If lost, please return to Garage Heroes.
Exactly. We're going to have a big picture of Alan on the front. It's gonna have you seen this person?
Have you seen?
And on the back, it's going to have my phone number.
Yeah.
Gray hair, probably riding a bike.
Yeah.
Probably talking about something. We don't know what, but anyway.
Yeah, I have lots of questions. So Well,
We have a
I'll
whole
be-
document.
Yeah. I'm probably going to end up going off of the dock. So
Well, we
That's
remember
fine.
we've got the intro section, and then we've got the questions you want to ask. So just
okay.
settle down, Sparky.
Okay.
She's operating on low sleep, so this could go really off the rails.
I got my notepad so I don't bulldoze everybody.
And
It's
she will.
okay. We're all operating on low
Okay.
sleep, just college in general.
Yeah.